excited to be here today. I've got so much more energy. Life is going pretty good today. I don't know, it's interesting. Some days I just wake up with like more energy. Sometimes I just have to give myself that space to kind of decompress maybe. But yeah, super excited. So it is day 7 on the custom HKSs. I'm really excited about this because I think today is going to be the last day to finish out the left shoe. So if you've been following along, thank you so much. I really love having you here. I'm Erin, and I like to make stuff. So I'm starting this channel to stream live, really to just give me a space as a creative to show up and to make work. So hopefully that inspires you to do the same. Maybe you have a project or something you want to work on, and just carving out some time to show up, even if you don't feel like it, to work on it. I think it's just, for me, I'm finding the value of that, and how it just really is actually helping to fill something that I need to do for me, because it is a huge part of who I am and huge value for me, making things. But so often I just let life get distracted, like life distracts me, or I let other obligations take over that really aren't as important. So that's why I'm here. That's why I started this channel. It's a safe place. Show up, chill, create while I'm creating. I'm a naturally curious person, so if you want to ask me questions, please shoot me any questions you have in the live chat, and I will respond to them. So thank you for being here. So day 7, I've also been clocking the number of hours. So it has been 22 hours so far that I have been working on these shoes. This is by far the most labor intensive design that custom that I have done. And for anybody that's just joining, so this is something that is actually designed in a collaboration with my husband. So he is by far like the sneakerhead. He's also like the car encyclopedia and the person who really has like the knowledge for all the racing liveries and cars and things like that. I am just a fan. And I really like making stuff. So I do actually have a passion for both, but not nearly as much as him. So he did design this shoe based on the HKS livery here, so you can see how that parallels. And I did already do a prototype of his original design, which was based on the so this was his original design based for Air Jordan 1 high top, but I'm not really a fan of wearing high tops, so I'm doing a low. There we go. I think that shows both of them. Yeah, hello. So this is where we're at. So I did work a little bit later last night. I worked about another 2 hours off camera, and I want to share that footage and just kind of talk you through it while I'm talking around everything else that I'm doing. So I'm going to switch on over to my crafting mode so you can see. I also am really loving this new angle. So thank you for everybody who kind of like mentioned that this was a better angle. I feel like it does allow you to see what I'm doing better, as I've been trying to figure out like how do I have my equipment and have my work so you can see it and be just a little bit more intimate with it. So thank you for that. I'm always trying to make little improvements to show up in just an easier to follow way. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to so this is some footage that I did last night. So I'm just gonna kind of talk through it while I kind of finish setting up. So I ended up on the shoe, yesterday I did touch-up work. And in order to speed things up, and just because I still had energy, but I was having an off day and I just wasn't that talkative, so I felt like I was being really boring. But I kept working for a couple hours. I finished cleanup. I did more touch-up work on the shoe, even though it really didn't need it, but I kind of just get a little too perfectionist on that. So I probably spent an extra 1 more hour doing touch-up work. And then I went ahead and I was making the stencils, because today what I'm gonna do is on the design you can see there is like the kind of this magenta-y red line. So today I'm going to be adding that stencil, and I wanted to make the stencils. So rather than using the Cricut cutter like I used for the HKS, I actually just made these stencils out of electrical tape. So I'm showing that footage right now. And I wanted to show this one to show how easy it is, but also to show what I use, how I make that, because let's say you don't have access to a printer that will print like stickers or vinyl and stuff like that. You can absolutely make your own stencils with like masking tape, blue painter's tape, or the electrical tape. I like the electrical tape because of the edge on it, and it's also what I have right now. So this just kind of is that footage. So the materials that I'm using is I have just 1 inch, so I have 1 inch electrical tape, and then I have 2 different rulers that I use. So this is a small metal ruler to give me a hard metal edge when I'm using an X-Acto knife and a blade, because I don't like to use plastic. And then this one, I just find that this one is really easy and really nice to use for like if I have to use the spacing to grid out and make measurements. And so I also use the cutting mat. So the other piece of equipment that is very important, I think, is the cutting mat. And you can see that I'm actually using it to position the stencils and find my line. The last thing is I did also use a Sharpie. So the measurement for the reddish magenta-y line is based on my ruler. It was like, what was it? It was like, I don't know, an eighth, not even an eighth. It was like a 16th of an inch, which I guess would be equivalent to, in centimeters, like basically like 2 millimeters. So 2 millimeters, or like an eighth of an inch, I think, is about what the width of that is. And so rather than trying to measure it out, I actually found that the tip of the, move this way, the tip of the Sharpie is about that. So it's like, well, if I just draw the length of the line I need and then kind of cut a little bit on the outside, it'll be good enough. So that's what I did. And you can see that I'm doing here in terms of the footage that I filmed. But yeah, it's super easy to do that. So yeah, while this is kind of running, so you can see, I'm just gonna kind of start taping up a little bit and adding some of these to my shoe. I'll switch over in a second. But again, I'm just trying to be conscientious. I feel sometimes like I'm, I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but I kind of feel like it's getting a little boring and it gets a little silent. So kind of weird. I got my hands here and there. Twilight Zone. I don't know, did anybody else watch Twilight Zone back in the day? So oh, and then of course I'm just using an X-Acto with a really sharp blade in order to do my cutting. Oh yeah. So as you can see, I've drawn my lines for the stencil, and now I'm using the metal straight edge to just cut the length that I need. And I'm actually, so I don't have to constantly measure, it actually just so turns out that the length of it is 5 centimeters. And so each of these squares is 1 centimeter. So or whatever it is, whatever the measurement is, I don't know if that's a centimeter. Yeah, each of those is a centimeter. So for 5 centimeters, I just was able to use the grid on the map to give me how the length of each of the stencils. So that's another reason why I like using a mat cutter, because of the grid and everything like that. Yeah, I find that that's just really helpful. And I just do it in batch, right? You lay everything down, you cut it out, and now you can see I am pulling up the stencils. So I'm making that negative space, and then I just cut down the middle. So I have a total of 13. I counted the number that was on the prototype, and it was like about 13. So I was like, okay, I'll make 14 or something like that. However it happened, I went ahead and just made a couple extra in case I oopsed. Yeah, so. And I think I'm actually playing that video at a little bit of a faster speed to speed it up. But yeah, it took me about an hour to make the stencils, and then I did about an hour of additional touch-up work last night, just so that way I knew I was rounding the finish line, and I really want to complete the shoes on stream today. So that's why I did that. We'll hold on to that. Yeah, so I think that gives you just an idea of what I was doing. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that off. I've gone ahead and I've got one on. So I'm just going to load these stencils up and then we'll get to painting. So hopefully. I also did a test last night to see what the laces, so I laced up the shoe with the black lace because I didn't know what I wanted to do with the tongue. But on the tongue, I think I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and keep it all white with the black in order to play with the HKS actual, I guess the actual HKS letters, because they are black and white. And once I add the laces in, it actually laces up pretty high, so it feels more black. And then what's actually cool is on the tongue, you know, like on race cars, how like on the window, like at the top of the windshield, there's usually like a stripe for like advertising or the name. I feel like the banding of the Nike tag in the top of the tongue actually really kind of plays with that and visually kind of represents that. So I'm going to keep it that way. I am also going to keep the Nike label as is. I'm not going to paint it because again, I want it to play with the black and white, but I am going to paint this like the shoelace tongue holder is, I'm sure there's a technical term, but I'm going to paint this black so that it doesn't stand out so much. And I want to show that because I want to show like how am I able to paint this while keeping the rest of it white. Hopefully it doesn't go bad. So hopefully I'm not like, I'm going to paint it black now because I just totally screwed up. Totally possible, by the way. So. I've got all the stickiness off of the shoe. I just used my X-Acto to pull it up, and I just left these stuck on the mat. Like I don't need the mat for anything else, so I just left them. I left them stuck on the mat. I'm just using the old one as reference. This looks a lot thicker than it actually ends up being. So it looks like it's a much thicker stencil and it's going to be a thicker line. But for some reason, once it gets on there and you pull it off, it really gets a lot thinner. So I'm not too concerned that it's going to feel too too thick. I think it just like visually looks thick because of the outline. That makes sense. Red here. Like a red here, and then like one here, so. And also to make my life a little more simple, not that I'm trying to avoid it, but if I'm able to not have to go over any of the stitching or anything like that, and I can just do like really clean lines, that is gonna save me a lot of time on this particular stencil, because I won't probably be dealing with like that underbleed underneath the tape when it's super flat. So I am thinking about that on this time. Plus, I think like having the super straight line go over those bends might, it might make the line a little squiggly and off. So, kind of a fun word, squiggly. Okay, and then I am also going to actually just reference, I have a copy of the logo here that's also on the screen, so I'm also just going to take a look at that to really see where like the position of the little tag is. I don't know where I want to put that one yet. Also, my finger healed, so it's a lot faster to work when we don't have a really big paper cut on your finger. That did not feel good. Well, because of just the design of the shoe, I can avoid those those bendy areas as much as possible, but it's still gonna happen. And remember, I really like the negative space here, and I really like this line. So I didn't want to put something over that, but I am going to put one of the dashes back here. There's just something about that negative space I'm really liking. yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. I think that's gonna be cool. I like that position better. I feel like I probably will need something up here, but I'm gonna just go around the rest of the shoe because I don't want to be too heavy with these. Like I don't think it requires too many. So I've got 1, 2. It's like on this one I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. We'll see. This also has a lot more up here. Like if I didn't have this, then I'd have 1, 2, 3. So about the same. This one has a little bit more here. I also realized that I don't know if you noticed this, but the prototype to this shoe, I've got the design going the opposite direction, so it's kind of interesting. I did not conscientiously do that. I think it's because I started with like the inside of the shoe. That looks so good. Sorry. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, that looks good. Oh. I calculated it out, and I think there's probably about another 3 hours. So I'm going to say about 25 hours per shoe on this particular design, which is definitely a labor-intensive stencil design, but this is it's a lot of detail. There's a lot of there's a lot of angles happening. There also it's just like a lot of folding over all of the different leather parts. So yeah, I think in total, this shoe is probably going to be about 50 hours, but I can't remember what I quoted on like the prototypes that I made, but I feel like the prototypes, probably because I did everything by hand, like I had to like layer up the paint, like all 3 or 4 layers, like by freehand. But I want to say like these ones probably took, well, if these are taking me 50, this probably took me at a minimum 60, so maybe another 10 hours. It might have been more than that. It might have been, can't remember. Maybe it was 80. I don't remember. But either way, I know I've saved myself a lot of time by using the stencils. I don't remember calculating. I remember calculating, but I didn't write that number down, and now I've forgotten. That's what happens when we don't write stuff down. think like probably something there. You know, it would be kind of, I do have to spread up a little bit of that. I'm having a bit of a sweet tooth today. I'm gonna have a candy. I normally don't eat candy. I normally don't have much of a sweet tooth. I like chocolate. Like non-sweet things. I like chocolate. I like really good cream cheesy cheesecake. For some reason I'm having a sweet tooth today, so got myself a little coffee candy. I think I want to avoid this. I'll do a thing here, but I'm gonna put one down here. Alright, gotta go off camera. Oh, look, you can see me. Yeah, I make this angle better. Because you actually can see, like, I just hold it. Gotta hold it in your lap. These ones are so cute. They're so little. It's gonna be cool. Oh, can't see that. That's gonna be cool. This one goes to this one goes to this one. I need one to go here. Probably one to go here. It's amazing how what's really cool about this HKS livery and this design. Like, you would think, oh yeah, it looks great with just the blue, with just like the purple and the green, but it's amazing, like the shoe felt complete, you know, it felt like it looked good, but when you add this little extra, like it adds this extra layer of like interest and like color that kind of like continues to move your eye around like whatever this, you know, like for example the car, like it kind of, at least to me, like when I see it like on a car, it like keeps my eye moving. And I feel like the same thing with, you know, with the shoe, like I feel like these lines just kind of keep directing me to switch focus because of these little lines. I don't know. Love to know what you think, but that's kind of really interesting part, I think, of this particular livery. You know, and I think that's something like, you know, good design is hard to do. And I might be wrong, but I feel like it keeps moving the eye, and I feel like that's something in any art, in any composition, right? Like whether I'm taking photos, whether you're designing a logo, whether, no matter what it is, like you kind of want to think about like the flow, like how does whoever's viewing whatever it is you're looking at, like how does the eye follow, right? So like how does our eye track? How does our eye follow? Really, really interesting. I don't know. Things are never as simple as they seem. It's, you know what they say, like the most simple things sometimes can feel, they're not always the easiest. Like simple does not mean easy. Usually super simple means actually quite difficult. Can be. I actually think I'm going to move this one. Well, we'll see. I might need... I think this just required a little something here. Yeah. That was it. This one I got, it's like a little, I cut the edge too thin on that one, so I'm actually gonna hold off on that stencil. I'll use it if I have to, but that edge makes me nervous because I'm scared that like it's gonna move and paint's gonna go under it, and then I have like a really sharp corner I have to touch up. I don't want to do that. So on the toe, I don't know if you can see it, but these are all very like parallel to each other, and then this one kind of like, I might have to readjust that one. Yep. That's the noise that I think it makes. Or I could adjust this, because this didn't go over that. Yeah, that feels better. Oh man, just totally, I like lo-fi, but this particular song that just hit totally reminds me of my dad and like the jazz station, like the smooth jazz that he always listens to. Like the same radio station that he's been listening to since, I don't know, probably the 70s. Fond memories. In fact, it was so cute. I told him, I was like, hey, Dad, I remember, like, I've been listening to this lo-fi and it reminds me of this. And so he got on Spotify. He didn't know about Spotify. And he's like, oh, I listen to all these old musicians and bands that I used to love. I thought it was fantastic. like a lot going on the toe, but I think it'll be okay. Because on this one I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this so it's not coming up so much. So maybe it stops more around here, just to kind of visually not have so much going on. That does concern me. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's a little less heavy, and then I think I need to reposition this one. But I guess what's really, and I guess this is why I kind of like working with the electrical tape when it comes to stencils instead of masking tape, because it's really pliable, right? Like as I move it, I can just lift it up. And so like it was originally kind of positioned up here, but I can just kind of pull it this direction and straighten it out. And I don't have to lift it, and it doesn't buckle. It still maintains its like integrity and structure, but it's just a very flexible material. So I think that's why I really like, if I'm gonna make my own stencils, I would want to use electrical tape for those stencils versus masking tape. Okay. I'm going to use the one that's not the best. I go down here. I do think I need something. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll probably use one more somewhere in here. Probably something up here. Yeah, so something like up in this area. It's gonna be cool to have just a little bit of red. Oh, that's gonna be cool to have just like a little bit of red coming over the lip. I forgot to do the green on this flat on the lip, so I'm gonna have to go back and do that. All right, so I'm putting this one like actually on. I don't know why, but I'm gonna put this one up here. I feel like there's gonna be something cool about just like having a little bit of red. Maybe it'll look horrible. Maybe it won't. What do you think? Let's see. I feel like that looks good. Like if I wanted to break this space up, I can move this up. I don't know that if it needs it. This one looks a lot, the inside looks so much more balanced than the outside that I have going on. Oh, now these are way too lined up. Do not like that. I moved it and I don't like it. The inside looks so much more awesome than this outside. Yep, I think that's better. I'm just gonna leave that blank. I'm gonna let that be because there are definitely some big blank spots in the livery design. So yeah, I feel like that looks good. So I'm pretty happy with those stencils and their placement. So let's get painting. And I can keep these two for next time. For the next shoe, for the right shoe. Okay, so for the lines, I'm gonna use the Angelus magenta. And just straight out of the bottle as is. I don't really want it to be too bright because even on the logo, it's not overtly, like there's not a lot of white to it, right? It has like a deepness to it. So I'm just gonna do it straight out of the bottle. And then in terms of the brush, so I'm gonna start out using the same filbert number 2. And then I also have my round brush number 2. So I'll rotate between these two. I might actually end up using the round brush. My filbert is feeling, I don't know, we'll see. But those are gonna be the two brushes that I start out with and use. Get the brushes. Okay. Oh, before I get started, I want to, I almost forgot a step. Okay. So I have my heat gun, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit the vinyl just so it kind of molds a little bit more and wraps around, and I kind of seal any, maybe any areas where the paint could slip underneath. Water next to electronics always makes me nervous. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty effective. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty effective at getting the vinyl to really adhere. Now let's do this. Just have little oopses. I'm all set up and ready to go. Right. What? I'm gonna just try out the round. I haven't used the round yet, but I remember having success with this one. I think this might be the right brush, so. Let's start with a straight one. And there we go. I was thinking about the last couple days, and I just had really low energy. But this is part, I think, of just trying to create a space to show up and work. I guess it's no different than like days that you wake up and you're just like, I just really don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to that 9 to 5, or it's the weekend and you have things that maybe you need to get done. You have things that you want to get done, but the motivation isn't there, but life happens and sometimes there's no choice but to show up. But I just was thinking about that. And like when it comes to prioritizing something that you're interested in, something you want to do, when you don't feel like it, like maybe there's this internal, like, oh, you want to do it. And like in your mind, you want to do it, but you just can't muster like the energy or whatever it might be to sit down and work on it. I just was thinking about that a lot. And I'm curious, like, what do you do to kind of recharge, right? So for example, for me today, I was feeling tight. I woke up. I allowed myself the space to do some stretching, clear my mind out, and I listened to a podcast. And the podcast was really good. It kind of like got me thinking about things that I hadn't thought about in a while, or maybe some new things. And I find that that's like for me really. I get very motivated by hearing other people's stories. I get very motivated by like being introduced like new information that I've not heard about before. And it's like, oh, that's something new. Let me learn more about that. Or information I've heard before, but with a different perspective. I find that that's really interesting. And I struggle with that last one a little bit because I feel like in today's day and age, with algorithms and so many other things, it's very, very easy to stay in a space where all the inputs I'm receiving have the same perspective. But I have found in my own personal experience that by staying with inputs that's only the same perspective, I'm not going to grow because it doesn't challenge me. It doesn't actually inspire me. If anything, maybe sometimes it even drains my energy versus propelling me forward to think about it differently. Like, to have to activate the brain and be like, well, I didn't think about it that way, or I don't agree with that, or, oh, I thought I didn't agree, but maybe this new perspective shed some light in a way that I hadn't seen it before. So yeah, I was thinking about that today, because I feel like I'm showing up today with more energy. But I think it's that like my mind is a little bit more active. I was able to listen to a podcast that helped me. I learned some new like economic concepts. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I have something new to learn, and new to think about, some new economic and business concepts that I didn't know about before. And then also just some new perspectives on the way to think about just a different perspective on some topics that I kind of already had been entertaining those thoughts in for a little while, or growing with certain thoughts. So yeah, I will actually link the podcast. I've been listening to it for a while. It is by a gentleman called Sun Yi. And the podcast is called Authentic as Fuck. It's awesome. Like, he is super awesome. I really, really love listening to him. And what I love about his guests is just like, I feel like I'm listening to a normal conversation. It doesn't feel, it feels like a conversation I would sit around at like a table with some friends and talk about and like shoot straight, versus sometimes when I listen to podcasts, it feels very interviewed or very curated, or they stick to like one particular, not topic, but the examples maybe just don't feel as relatable. And I like that the way that Sun presents himself and presents his podcast and a lot of the other ways that he shows up feels like a normal conversation. Like, I can see myself having the same conversation. So it's just a little bit more relatable to me. Yeah. Because I like to share the love, if I've been inspired by something, maybe somebody else will be inspired by the same thing. Or it'll get them thinking about something from a different perspective. I don't know. That's how we grow and change, right? And really, you know, for myself, like I feel like just showing up with an open mind, sharing my perspective and listening to other people's perspective is really kind of the foundation of how I want to exist, at least, you know, how I want to show up for other people, how I want to show up for myself, because I feel like it just puts me in a state of growth. It encourages me. It puts me in a state of growth. Not that I always have to be growing, but, you know, I don't know. There's like a quote, like the only thing that's constant in life is change. And so I feel like growing is just a natural part of that. A natural part of that change that I just like to embrace. And it's not always easy. Change is rarely easy, but I think it's just how you approach it. Let go of the unknown and just kind of embrace it, like, you know, surrender that. And or as a recent mentor has been telling me, surrender that outcome and see where it goes, you know, like what can I control, what can't I control? And I guess when it comes to hearing different perspectives, the only thing I can't control what somebody else says, how somebody else views something, but I can control how I react, how I think about the information that they shared, how it impacts me, if I can relate, and how I respond. And look, I remembered not to paint on the Nike swoosh. I'm getting better, y'all. I'm getting better. So I think, as I learned, I mentioned yesterday as I was doing the touch-up work, I think actually putting like the base light coat underneath the purple and the green might have actually caused more work than not, versus just putting maybe like I already had to do 4 coats. So I don't really know how much of a difference it made. So I think on the right shoe, I'm not going to do that because I'm thinking it'll probably help speed it up without having to do the touch-up. And I don't think I actually need it. So you see that? Sorry, you can't see my face, but at least you can see what I'm doing over here. This is such a weird angle. Oh, dang it. I just put my finger in whatever I just painted. Oi. All right, there's no easy way to do this heel without it being in my lap, so. This heel's just difficult to show, especially with these straight lines. think some of the areas that I covered over like had a lot of like painstaking detail. Just painting over it. And I'm actually pretty happy that like I'm doing 2 different types of stencils, because I think too this will kind of remind me like, oh, okay, I like working with electrical tape. I don't like working with electrical tape, you know. If I go, yeah, I turn a little bit more, and I won't be so off camera. Keep like cleaning off my brush, because I just feel as though I'm depositing too much paint this first time around. So all right, last color swatch. Last stencil. Okay. First round is done. Goes a lot faster when it's little itty bitty stencils. going? Oh, I got the toe. Don't forget the toe. He's gonna be lonely. He's gonna be lonely. I just realized something would be a cool detail. I have this stencil happening right here. I should carry it to the inside of the flap. So I'm gonna do that right now. Because but one last long one. I'm just gonna cut off okay. So I'm just gonna line it up exactly with this. Carry this over. Okay. Yep. Oh yeah, that's gonna be cool. Yeah, I like this. It'll, like, motivate me to wear them with the flaps not laced up. I like that it gives me one section on the left side where the paint comes up and over. I like that. Because then I have like purple, green, and one red-ish on each tongue. See? So I like that. I feel like for me, this is like a really, I think it's like my favorite detail about all the shoes I've done so far is like when the paint goes up and over and like sits on that ledge. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like a very satisfying to paint it. And I feel like visually it's just like very satisfying to me. Yeah. So speaking of other things that are satisfying, I'm gonna share something that I think is embarrassing, but after today, I feel like maybe it's not so odd, right? And I think this goes to something I was talking about the other day, just regarding like, if I, then we as in like a collective of people, if I share the things that sometimes I think go on in my head that I think are very odd, but if I say them out loud, maybe to somebody I trust, then I start to realize like it's not so weird. Like I always feel like the odd man out and I feel like, oh, I'm so weird. But then sometimes like the more you share, the more you realize that like your experience is similar to somebody else's experience. And that the more we share, the more we realize that like the experience that we have in life, there's probably a lot more commonalities than there are differences for like the basic emotions that we feel and maybe things that we do. So I love Reddit. I was introduced to it by my husband. He was always looking at cute cats and dogs and he's like, oh, it's on Reddit. And I was like, what's Reddit? And I started to go on and I love Reddit, and I mostly love reading the comment section. Like the comment section on Reddit, there is so much gold. There, like, yes, so much gold. So today I was on there and the homepage, there was the Ask Men thread. And the question was, okay, what's the question? I gotta read it because I'll screw it up otherwise. You can never refund. I don't have an account. I'm total lurker. So bad. I sent myself like a note so I can get back to that link. So the question was, men of Reddit who don't comment and post, why don't you post? No. It was, dang it. These links aren't working. Basically, it was something about like, what is something you do in private that you really love, but you're probably kind of embarrassed to tell other people about, or like you just don't want people to be involved in it. Like you want to keep it as like a solo activity. And one of the ones I was seeing a lot is like talking to yourself. And I have to share that because I do that all the time, like full-blown conversations. And like the more I read the comments, the more I was like, whoa, I'm maybe not so alone. And I didn't feel so odd man out. And it's not a dual personality or anything like that. It's one of the ways, for example, that like I process information. And somebody else posted this, like one of the people posted this of, oh, well, a lot of times like I'll maybe have a conversation when, after the fact, and if the conversation didn't go the way I want, like I kind of talk myself through it. And maybe I use it as an opportunity to like coach myself and grow. Like I do that all the time. Other people were commenting of like, oh, sometimes I just like talk out loud to myself and have conversations because like I'm processing out loud. And I was like, well, that's kind of what I do too. Like when I talk out loud to myself, it's more of like the way that I go about processing, right? Like, because I think for me, similar to like, I like to do pen to paper and journal versus typing. So like if I'm going to write something, I tend to like write it on a paper first and get it out of my brain and onto the page. And then once I do that, it's easier for me then to type it out. It's just how my brain processes the information. And I think it's similar to myself. And like, I realized like, oh, maybe I'm not so alone in this whole liking to talk to yourself. I kind of normally do it at my house, but I will say this last year, plus having the opportunity to wear a mask outside, I really love because I can sit around, like I can kind of like talk to myself and people can't see it. I might just keep wearing a mask for that exact reason. That and my allergies, like are not nearly as bad. Like I have to take allergy medication on a regular basis just so I don't have that like fuzzy hazy. But with wearing a mask every time I'm outside, I haven't had to wear take allergy medication this whole time, and I'm absolutely loving that. So I think for me that's another really positive thing about wearing a mask. So I very well probably will continue because it's just actually more comfortable for me. And maybe talking to yourself is like a sense of like, I'm very comfortable being alone actually. Like I love my friends. I love being around people. Like, I'm not the best in like a huge social crowd actually. Most people would tell me that I'm an extrovert because I'm like very outgoing. Like I'll talk to strangers, like, all that stuff. But the reality is that like, I actually like, if I'm in a big party, I feel very out of place. I am one of those people that I would much rather like stand against the wall or find somebody who I think is interesting and just like spark up a one-on-one conversation and have that conversation kind of dominate my evening, because I will walk away then from that gathering feeling like very rejuvenated versus feeling the need to interact with everybody at the party. Like I'm not really one to like bounce around to all the different groups. I just give me one person, 2 people, I'm happy. And then usually after big events like that, I actually need a lot of or a big activity or maybe a big trip. Like I need a lot of decompression time, meaning after the fact, I need alone time. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to respond to messages. I don't want to answer my phone. Like I need like a good amount of time to recover. And it's interesting because that's something I've really learned about myself over the last couple years, and realizing that like I actually might be more of an introvert. I think I read somewhere that extrovert introvert is actually more around like where you gain your energy from. So like an extrovert actually like they will gain energy and momentum from like the vibe of a room and from all the activity and all of that, and it like recharges them. For an introvert, those type of settings maybe drain your energy. It doesn't mean you can't function in them, but it just drains you and you need like more alone time to like recover and maybe process. Just kind of interesting. And I've noticed that with myself in like the creative process, right? So actually, when I'm not streaming, I tend to not actually make stuff. And I'm finding that that's working well because I'm giving myself the chance to kind of recharge. It's just interesting to kind of like learn your own flow, right? And I realize this too about like when I do photo shoots with clients is that I usually need like the day after to do nothing. I don't want to look at the photos. I don't want to start editing or calling or anything like that. Like I need a day to recover, to process, to like get my energy back and do something totally different, something just for me, so that then I can sit down and really focus and then have the energy to put into like the editing process versus like the creation process of the photo itself. Because for me, like the editing and how to cull is like an industry term of like basically you have 100 photos and you want to bring it down to 5 photos. Like that process of going from 100 to like 5 is called culling. So you cull through the photos to figure out like which ones you want to keep, which ones you don't want to keep. I need that time to process, and I think that's been like a really interesting thing for me to realize about myself, and to be okay with it and not apologize and not feel like, oh, I have to immediately start working on the photos and start putting things out there. Like if I need the time so that allows me to do my best work, well, that's why clients are hiring me, because they like my work. As long as I'm upfront, and I think this is the mistakes I've made in the past, is feeling the pressure to say, oh, I have to do it this way because this is what other people are doing, instead of understanding myself and understanding I need this recovery time. And so I kind of always felt like, oh, I was struggling, and that's a mistake that I made because I was going against my gut feeling of what I needed because I thought I was supposed to do something else. And in the process, I also didn't communicate properly to clients, and so I made that mistake from a business standpoint. But I've learned from that where it's like, now it's, hey, this is my process. Like after I'm done, you're not going to get a teaser for X amount of days, or, whatever it is, like just setting the expectation so that everybody's clear on that. And I think I think you only do that, at least for myself, like I've only been able to do that as I've started to understand and listen to myself a little bit more and remove myself from what I think is expected of me to what I actually need. And that's been an interesting process. And I think that process has also been finding other people that are willing to talk about what is not perfect in their life, what they struggle with, their wins and their losses. And again, I think this goes back to that Reddit post of what is something that you do as like a solo behavior that, you kind of don't want other people to know about. You don't want to let other people in the process. And I think, like, for example, me talking to myself, like that feels very embarrassing. In fact, my loving husband makes fun of me for it because that's not how he processes information. It's more of like a joke though, if he's not mean about it. You gotta have fun with the person that you choose to spend the majority of your time with. At least I think so. So I think that post, it just kind of like reminded me like, wow, I'm not alone in feeling this way. There's more people out there than I realize that feel this way, that maybe think the same way I do or process the same way I do, which means even if only I think I read like 3 comments about this, and it's like there probably were more, but I'm not going to spend 4 hours reading comments on one thread, which I have done before. But yeah, I think it really does kind of come down to like knowing yourself. And sometimes I think a good way to know yourself is to surround yourself with people who are asking themselves the same questions and are willing to talk about it. At least I find that really motivating and inspiring. Like I get really inspired when people are really honest. And I think that's what I like about the podcast, like Sun's podcast, Authentic as Fuck, is that it really is just that. Like it is what it says it is. It's a very just authentic conversation that, wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. I hadn't thought about it that way. That's a different perspective. This person's just like showing up and being them. And I just really appreciate that. I definitely see like this pinky magenta color better when it's like going on top of the green versus on top of the black or the purple. But I feel like that's just the first coat, because as I'm getting more, like the color's evening out. So again, on the right shoe, I think I won't be doing that lighter layer underneath, because I feel as though that actually ended up causing much more touch-up work and more time. So I think maybe like if I'm covering huge areas, that probably is good, but for the smaller work, especially if it's like a dark if I need that outside line to be really crisp, well, I will try it out on the other shoe. Keep sticking to this piece sticking up, so I'm gonna cut it because I keep thinking as I'm putting my hand in paint, and I'm not. I'm not putting my hand in paint, it just feels like it. I definitely think this will be 4 coats, just like all the other stencils, to get it even. We're already 2 down. All right, second coat down. More coats. Okay. After the third coat, it's looking pretty good, and I think just like a light fourth coat is going to make it all pop. almost feel like by the third coat it goes faster because I'm not worried about like the underbleed because there's already like 2 layers of paint, so it's not gonna like scoop on under. Also, when I'm not yapping, it goes faster. I mean, I'm definitely probably still going to have some touch-up work to do, just because I don't think there's any way to not have touch-up work. That would be bananas. Don't get careless, Erin. like I'm going through so much more paint. Very interesting. I feel like maybe it's because I'm just like dipping the tip of my paintbrush into, I don't know why that made me laugh. Stop, reset. Yeah, I don't know why it feels like I'm running out of paint so fast. Oi. Now I have the giggles. Ay, ay, ay. I've got a decent amount. I don't know if you can see it, but like, no, you can't see it on camera, but there's like green down here at the base that I really want to get while the tape's still on it. You know what it probably is? I know what it is. My air conditioner is like directly hitting the paint, so it's drying it out fast. That's what's happening. Well, that would make sense as to why the paint's drying out faster. Yeah, I changed this position of my laptop, and so like the air comes this way, but normally the laptop was over here, so like the laptop was stopping that air from hitting it. Interesting. Okay, I got that one. Oh, just that one. Okay. Oh, 3 is on. I think swirling the heat gun makes a difference, but I'm doing it anyway. Let's assess and see about that fourth coat. Okay. So, I mean, it's looking pretty good, pretty solid. It's hard to tell on camera because the red and the like magenta are so close, but I can still see a little darkness. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do like a thin fourth coat, because A, why not? And B, I want them to pop. So, round 4. Let's do it. Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference. For sure. I'm still probably gonna have to go in and do some touch-up work, because if I don't have any underbleed, I'm gonna be shocked. I just did that one. But it was not. It was the other side, and it just looked similar. My paintbrush is getting loaded up with a lot of paint, but I have a feeling it's because the paint is drying out. So I'm gonna try this because I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. right. All right, all right, all right. And that makes 4 coats. So, let's heat gun it. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit, just because this is a little bit, there's so many long lines, so I have the opportunity to let it sit, so I'm gonna let it sit while I prepare the tongue and show you how I'm going to make it so hopefully I don't get overbleed. My favorite of all time brush cleaner that I like to use to keep my brushes clean. You just get it wet and then you just kind of, here we go. All right, so you get it wet and then you just kind of swirl it and get it on your brush. And then I just do that until I have a chance to go to the sink and then really clean it out. But I do that a couple times, and then you also can use it to maintain the softness and moisturize your brushes. So I really like it. And this one container will last you so long. Okay, so I want to paint the tongue, right? And I already have a few oopses, but I don't, and I want this to stay white and I want this to be black. So, remember the handy dandy plastic folder that I shared before. So just one of these plastic folders, similar to like how I cut out the stencils from it. I have a few extra pieces, just like pieces of it that I cut up. And I will use that to actually act as a barrier underneath this. So you can see how this one's like kind of all folded. So for example, in the past, what I've done is I take this plastic and I cut it so it fits underneath the tag, and then I just like wedge it under there, which gives me like the plastic barrier. So as I'm painting on it, it doesn't leak through, and I just have to be really careful on the edges. So that is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut this one down. so that it fits my tongue. The little tongue lace holder guy. Anybody who's an actual shoemaker or cobbler or probably rolling over right now saying, ay, 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 ay. Okay, so it is 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, 1.8 centimeters. So there we go, 1.8 centimeters. I got a thinner Sharpie than the thick Sharpie. I just have a piece of tape hanging out here. I want a really straight edge. I'm actually gonna just tape down this guy so that way I can get a really clean cut on it and a really clean straight edge using the mat as my guide. Okay. So now I have one super clean, super straight edge. So now I'm actually going to use this other piece of tape to hold it in place. That way it's not going to move around on me. Okay, so I said 1.8. So one of these squares is 1, so I just need the and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did 7 because I feel like the width of the pen. Okay, so I just marked both sides of the plastic. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see the two little marks, because that then gives me a line everything up on. And what I'm actually gonna do, because I want a really straight line, is I'm going to move this over and use that matte line again to give me that perfectly straight line. So I have and I want it to be a pretty snug fit. So I'd rather cut on the outside of these 2 marks than on the inside, because I always can shave off like a teeny weeny little bit if I have to, but I don't want to have to cut a whole nother one and measure it out. So okay, so let's see how that fits. It's hard to pull the tongue up because it has the elastic, which is cool for wearing, but it does make it difficult to pull that up. So what I want to do is I I want to I'm gonna kind of tackle it a little bit. And so it's not snagging, I'm just gonna snip these corners because it'll make it so I don't have, I'm not like an arrow, you know? It goes in smoother. See how much smoother that went in when I'm not fighting it? So then what this does is this allows me to have something that is protecting the lace. But right now it's sitting on top. It's hard to see it on camera, but the way that it's sewn, if it's a long piece of fabric, it's folded over and then it's stitched. So there's a couple flaps underneath. So I actually want to get it underneath those flaps. Yeah, that's a little bit tighter of a fit, and now it is underneath. It's underneath those flaps. So this is gonna protect my tongue while I paint this black. And then because I'm dealing with white and one little mistake, one little bleed, and the black is gonna get all over the white. So I'm also gonna use my electrical tape to tape directly up against this just to give like a barrier. Kind of like how you would, yeah, I'm just like creating like this little barrier so that way you can see, and I'm gonna butt it. What I'm doing is I'm pulling the fabric so I can kind of like position this tape as best I can underneath that fabric. And I don't want to use an X-Acto, but I'm going to use my ruler here to really finesse it underneath, right? So that's I think that's going to be a pretty good way to be able to paint this without it bleeding over. And I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. This is more awkward. That's a different angle. Okay, so let's go this way. Okay. Got a little bit of a string. I'm gonna cut that off. Okay. So I've got some little area here that makes me a little nervous, but it'll be okay. So I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get it to protect the white of the tongue, so I can just isolate and paint the fabric. Okay. So because I'm painting fabric, I'm going to be using my black. I'm going to be using the Angelus black leather paint. But then you also need to use Too Soft. So anytime you're going on fabric with the Angelus paint, you want to use Too Soft. And I think it's like a 50-50 mix that you want to mix it. So I don't have a ton of surface area to do. So I'm just gonna mix it 50-50 in my little painter tray. I'm not gonna use a container. If I was trying to do the whole tongue or something like that, I would mix up like a whole batch of it in I would mix up a whole batch of it in like a little container, so that way I'm not constantly mixing it, but I'm not doing that this time. So, and then in terms of which brush I'm gonna use, I want it to just be really even. I think I'm gonna use this, this is this square-headed brush. It's a flat shader, a number 6 flat shader, because I feel like I can get in there and get just like really light even. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good. It's also kind of almost the width, so I think that's gonna be the brush that I'm gonna go. Plus, this particular brush, it still has a pretty clean line on it. In terms of like the bristles aren't like all sprayed and stuff like that. So, okay. And I'm just gonna keep letting the stencils dry, and then I'll remove everything at the same time. And then pretty much it'll just be touch-up work. But I might end up doing that off camera tonight. So. I'll see. That's probably way more black paint than I need. Okay. So you can see that is the mix. I got a toothpick here to go ahead and mix that up. So yeah, you want it to be kind of liquidy, and at the same time, like, this is also why though I want to make sure it's taped up really, really well. But because it's liquidy, it spreads a lot more. Okay. So the 2 soft is mixed in. It's a 50-50 ratio. Let's do this. Don't screw up, Erin. Don't screw up. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little bit of just a test to see how fast it's coming out of my brush. Which this is exactly why I wanted to use this brush, because you see what a clean line I can get after I dab it. So, especially if I want to do the edge, like I might dab it on this first, and then that's basically the technique that I'm going to use to deposit the paint onto this guy here. So see how fast that spreads? Whew. So it doesn't take a lot, and it's already spreading to those. Yeah. You don't need a lot. I don't need to saturate the whole thing, because I think as I get down to, like, it's just spreading all the way to that seam, and I think it's just naturally going to do that. So I don't really need to do much regarding getting too close to that edge. I just need to deposit enough liquid on it that it kind of naturally spreads down there by itself. Yeah. That was way too much. So I can just kind of dab that. See, that was way too much that's on the brush. Like having a blotting cloth here to really make sure my brush is dry. And then when I go into the paint, it's just like a very, it's just a tiny bit. Blot it out. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna do right now, and I'm gonna hit it with the heat gun, because with the Too Soft, you really, anytime you're using Too Soft and on fabric, you really want to use the heat gun to fully dry it. Because the more wet it gets, the more like all of that paint and liquid is gonna go into the fabric around it, and I don't want it to bleed into the rest of the white. And this is the same technique I've used, for example, when I was doing, move this shoe out of the way. So that was the same technique I used when I was doing the tags on this one, because this tag I ended up painting the green with the Too Soft, and I had to just go really slow and just kind of let it bleed into that edge. Thankfully, I was painting on top of black, so it was pretty easy cleanup, but I didn't have too much overbleed. But same technique I used on all the other labels, like shoe tags that I've done. I have to be careful because this is a very thin plastic. I don't want to melt it with the heat of the heat gun. So I just keep it very far away. Like there's a good, I don't know, foot. So like heat is getting on it to dry it out, but it's not overpowering, and it's not going to like melt or warp the plastic. So you can see the heat. Something I have noticed in using Too Soft on fabric is that I find that I have to do a lot more coats with it, because otherwise it kind of fades. Like the pink pigs that I showed you, I painted the this section black, and now it looks more gray than anything. And I think that's another reason why on this particular tongue I decided to not paint it, is because it's really squishy, and also it's hard to see on camera, but it's like a mesh. So it's yeah, on these SBs it's more of a mesh, where it feels like it's one layer of fabric with like a mesh on top of it, which means I would have to penetrate both the top mesh and the lower more pillowy part, which means I'm like having to actually get like the paint in and like soak it in. And I just feel like the amount of paint that would be required to actually make this look a solid black would just be so much. And I don't know how good it would look. So I think that's something too to consider if you're doing custom, is like similar to this shoe, you know, like I picked this particular low because I wanted the purple as the base, and that was like a huge deciding factor for what was the base shoe going to be. And so yeah, I think you just like thinking about those things ahead of time before you start a custom can make a big difference, and just things to think through and things to problem solve through, like how am I going to tackle this? How am I going to handle this? I think is good things to ask yourself. I'm gonna let this kind of keep drying a little bit. And while I do that, maybe we can start to remove some stencils. Had a little bit come up here. Can you tell? I'm trying to find somewhere to stick all this. Okay, it looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I think there's gonna be a little bit of touch-up work, and I had a little bit peel up right here. But overall, like, looking good. Yeah, that looks good. I'm liking that. These stencils are working out well. Yeah, that's looking good. And see, it's a lot more subtle than with the whole stencil on. So I thought I had too many, but I don't think it's gonna be too many because, again, it's not as visually heavy when you remove all that outside border. This is definitely a little bit stickier than the printed stencils. And I think I'm definitely gonna need to let this dry overnight because I have a little bit of residual stick on it. So I'm gonna have to let this dry overnight and then go in, unstick it, and then do any final touch-up work. So I probably will do that over the weekend because I do wanna get these finished so I can get started on the next pair because I do have a hard deadline of when I need to finish these by, which is by the 22nd, because we are getting ready to relocate cross continents, and I would like to have this project done before we do that. But in my new location, I will have a friend who's a total sneakerhead and an amazing, amazing artist. And they said that they would be willing to come have shoe painting parties with me. So maybe we can solicit him to come on camera and we can chat and we can paint. And if you're a car person, you can ask him any questions because he's also an encyclopedia. Dang it. I'm getting a little more healing up with this particular, with this electrical tape. That's interesting. I'm gonna try to heat it up to see if that helps. I'm gonna see if that helps with removal. this one's just a little bit stickier, so I still think it's okay. Like I'm not upset by it, but I am going to just need to let everything super dry and then get the stickies up. But yeah, overall, I think it's looking really good. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a couple minutes. I'm gonna hit this again. I'm gonna need a couple, so I'll kind of bounce back and forth between something so satisfying about pulling off stencils. The reason why I kind of go back over is because a lot of times, like as I pull it up, a little bit of the paint lifts on the edges. So I just use my finger to like stick that back down. It's almost like the paint itself is a little bit vinyl. And it pulls up, probably because I just don't let it dry long enough, but this is kind of the technique that works for me because I feel like, I don't know, it gives a little bit of an edge, but when I go up and I do the cleanup work, I find that it works well for me, so. I'm just too impatient. Have patience in some things. When it comes to this, it's like, I just want to see what it is. Oh yeah. Looks good. Yep. The heating up the vinyl definitely works a little bit better, so I will keep doing that. I'm liking the placement of these. Looks good. Yeah. Okay. A really clean one. Looks good. It's a really clean one. Okay, before I do the toe, I'm going to do another coat. See, it bled. Well, there's only so much you can protect. Thankfully, laces are going to go underneath that, so the laces should cover it up. it's actually looking pretty solid. But I'm not going to take all of this off probably until tomorrow, just because I really want it to be dry. Like I don't want there to be any wetness that could potentially seep through to the bottom side. So let's do the last of the stencils. Okay. That was an excited shipper. I want to make sure you guys can see this one really good. Oh, I'm really glad that this front toe one is so clean. Some of them haven't been that clean, but that one's really clean. That's probably the most like predominant one because it's on the toe box. So that's exciting. Last stencil! I feel like I'm a freaking kid. All right. This is like a hard one. Okay. You see it? Oh, that one looks cool. Like that one's just like boop, boop right there. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's just like the happy dance. So, dude, all the stencils are done. So I can tell just like assessing this that I am definitely going to have touch-up work. Not all the lines are super clean. There's a few spots that like my previous. So not everything's super clean. It looks like it on camera because it's further away. So obviously like if it's on the foot, and somebody's like looking from afar, it's gonna look awesome. But like if you get up close and start holding on to it, there's like little areas, I don't know if you can see like this one where it's not like super clean, right? It's like I want to tighten up that line. So I will go in and I'll do that touch-up work, but I want to let this sit overnight, get nice and solid, because I did notice using the electrical tape as stencils that there's a little bit of sticky residue left on the shoe. So I want to give it time to dry, pull up all that stick, and then I'll go in and do the detail work here over the weekend. And then maybe I'll pop on and I'll just stream like kind of the final shoe. So yeah, I'll do that, but I think it looks good. And again, I'm gonna leave this until probably tomorrow, just because again, I want everything to dry, and I don't want, if this is still wet, like I don't want it to bleed through onto the tongue. But for the most part, like the shoe is done. A little bit of touch-up work, and then there is something called finisher, but right now, like I'm struggling right now of like, do I even want to do the finisher until I'm fully relocated, since it's moving continents and completely different location, to be able to buy Angelus duller. So they have different additives that you can add. Like this is too soft if you're going on like a softer fabric. And then like they have also like too hard. So if you're doing plastic, it's meant for the plastic part. And then they have the finisher, which I do like to have the finish on it because it waterproofs it and it protects it, but I find that it tends to be too shiny. And I don't know that I really want it that shiny. So like if you compare to the prototype that I did, which has the finisher on it, you can see like it's just that much glossier. Granted, this is a different quality leather, like it's super not quality on this particular shoe. But yeah, I feel like the finisher just makes it a little too shiny. So I might wait until I can get my hands on some duller, because then you just add like a proportion of the finisher and the duller. You mix it like I did the too soft with the black to kind of give a little bit. I don't want it super matte. Like I don't want super matte, but I definitely don't want it so shiny. So I might end up waiting on that one. Otherwise, the shoe is done. I'm not gonna wear these until I move. And plus I don't want it too shiny for like photos and stuff like that. Maybe I'll do a photo shoot with them before I add the duller. No, I'll figure out. So yeah, that is today. I want to thank you so much for being here. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Day 7, I think, so that was 22, 3, 4, yeah, 25 hours, pretty much exact right now. So I probably do actually have like another hour worth of work to do touch up, maybe an hour and a half. So probably 27 hours total per shoe. So yeah, we're looking at about 55 hours maybe total. So we'll see. But again, I think there's some things I'm going to do on the second shoe, on the, this is the left shoe, on the right shoe to kind of speed it up. But I will be back streaming that. So next week I will be back on Tuesday. Okay, so I had to switch my mics because I just ran out of battery on my camera. I guess I'm starting to realize it's about 3 hours when I stream, so maybe that's a sign. I'll figure that. So I will be back next week, and on Tuesday I'm actually going to be streaming some photography. So I'm going to be doing a photo shoot of myself for a concept sketch that I've been working on, that I have some ideas. So I'm going to walk you through what that sketch looks like, kind of the ideas behind it, the emotions, and what I'm feeling. And then I'm going to set up the camera and actually just shoot the photos and kind of let you see what that process looks like. So that will be Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I will be back with the second, the right HKS shoe, and I'll be able to show you what this one looks like fully finished. But again, about 2 more hours worth of work, and you guys know what it's going to be. It's just going to be touch up, unsticking, stuff you guys have seen me do before, but I will spare you that. The other thing, I did make a decision. I probably will do a little bit of filming,
but when I go to strip and prepare the other shoe, because I'm using acetone, because I was so unsafe the last time, I am going to just do that outside. So I have proper ventilation, I have a fan blowing, I can wear a mask. So I will film that and then probably piece some of that footage in so you can see that. But I will time myself so we know a whole idea of what it looks like. Oh, thank you, Austin. It does look really good. I know I can't wait to have you look at all the details, but thank you so much. I always appreciate you showing up. You're such a huge support. Thank you. Yeah, so I will see you on Tuesday. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay creative, stay curious, and I will see you next time. Oops.